Hi, this is Marcus from Let's Russia. In this video we're going to fill out the visa application for a Russian visa online. Now we need two things before we start. We need your passport. Obviously we'll need to enter the details in. So I got my passport here ready, a copy of it, and we need a tourist voucher or a tourist invitation letter. Looks something like this. They might look slightly different. Yours might look slightly different, but it will have the same information. So we have the red circles are circling the confirmation number. We'll have the reference number in green, the place we're going in blue, and the purple is the host company. The company that is registered with the Department of Tourism in Russia to issue these types of invitations. So let's get started. We'll go to visa.kdmid.ru. Now this video is mostly for US citizens because each visa application is slightly different based on your passport. So we're going to, because we are in the United States, we're going to select United States here. This is very important. You don't want to mess this up because at the end you'll have issues I'll show you later. So select the country that you are located in and you intend to apply for a visa. So our office is in Houston, where we submit all our documents to the Russian consulate in Houston. Now if you're out of the US, you can still apply in the US. You can send your documents to our office and we'll apply through the Houston consulate. But you'll still need to, if you want to do that, you'll still need to choose United States. I'll go through all these details in the video, so you can just click I have read this information, and then we'll click complete new application form. So here in the top right is your application ID. We're going to jot that down. And then we're going to make up a password. You also want to jot down the password that you used. And then click submit. So here's the identification number. We're going to use this password, Let's Russia 1, and then here's the ID that we just got. We'll click next because this is a new application. Obviously all these things are empty. Nationality is your passport. I have a US passport. I never had USSR or Russian nationality, so I clicked no. If you had, some people don't know they were born in, for example, Kazakhstan or Ukraine or Latvia or Uzbekistan during the time of the USSR. So you technically will have to say yes, and then when you lost it, and you can say I immigrated to the United States, for example, what date. So, but in my case we're going to say no. Most people say no here. Then the purpose of the visit is tourism. We're applying for a general tourist visa. Because you're a US citizen, you can apply for a multiple entry. So the multiple entry visa can be up to 3 years. You need to have a valid passport for 3.5 years or more from this date. This date of entry is actually the date, these dates right here, date of entry and exit, are the dates that your visa will be granted for. So the visa start date, basically. So I know I'm planning a trip, for example, in April. But I don't know exactly when. I haven't purchased my tickets, so I'm going to put 30th of March, and that will cover me. Because I have the visa for 3 years, I will have the flexibility to book my tickets anytime on or after the 30th of March. Then we'll put the date of exit, which isn't necessarily the date that I will leave Russia on my first trip, or my only trip maybe. It's the date that my visa will end. So this form, you'll notice a lot of these little nuances. They don't really make sense. So just follow this video and you'll be fine. So my visa will start on the 30th of March 2020, and my visa will expire. Well, the last day will be the 29th of March 2023. It's always 3 years minus 1 day. So we'll click next. Now our personal details here, exactly as it is in our passport. Now I made up a middle name, Marcus James Riley. So I just made that up to show you that it needs to be exactly as it is in your passport. If you have a hyphen, put a hyphen. If you have an apostrophe, put an apostrophe. If it's McDonald with a space, then you'll need to put that space. If you were known by another legal name, you'll put it here. If not, say no. For married women, they will include their maiden name. So they'll have to say yes and then indicate the maiden name. So I'll put male here, date of birth. I'm going to use this one on the passport, which was the 15th of February 1980. So most of these questions are straightforward. You just have to look at your documents if you're unsure. Massachusetts, USA. So that's just this part right here, personal details, is just copying your passport. Did I spell Massachusetts right? Yeah, okay. If you were born in Russia, then you would say yes, when you left, and to which country you left, you traveled to. I was not, so I'll say no. Now, if you do say yes, you may be asked to support that answer with some sort of document. It could be your U.S. citizen, your U.S. naturalization certificate or something like that, or a stamp in your old passport. If you're married, include your spouse's details. Again, this is very straightforward right here. I'm going to say single just for the purposes of this. Now we go to the next section, passport details. Again, this is about you, and my passport number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 digits for the U.S. passport. Date of issue 15th of August 2015. So I do have plenty of time left in my passport to get the 3-year visa. Now if this were, for example, 2023, then so is less than 3.5 years from the date that I'm just going to save this real quick and go back to visa details. If my passport expires 6 months before this date right here, then I will need to indicate, for example, let's say my passport expires March 29th, 2023. All I do is I deduct 6 months. So I can get a visa starting this date, but I can't get it past 6 months before my passport expires, which would then be the 29th of, let's see, October, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, September 2022. So I take the date my passport expires minus 6 months exactly. Then that would be correct. So I can't get the full 3 years, but I can get a good amount. Okay, so we're at passport details. Issued by, again, you can look at your passport. It says United States Department of State right here in the bottom right. United States Department of State. Now I'm going through this quickly just to, you can pause or slow it down anytime. Visit details here, so we put our personal details, passport details. Once we get to visit details, we're talking about the invitation that you received. So the travel company, that is, you're not technically visiting them, right? They just issued you a tourist invitation. So we're going to put their details. We can find that under host company in purple. Some of them are in Russian. It's OOO. Usually it means LLC. You can just copy and paste the Russian, or if you see it in English, you can do that. So copy and paste the name, Visa Service LLC, and then we need their address. So again, we'll just copy and paste here. Leninsky Avenue, 153, office such and such in St. Petersburg. We'll paste that here. Now the reference number is the company number that they're registered under. So we need this reference number here. It can only be numbers. And you can't, this form doesn't let you copy and paste numbers, so you kind of have to do it by hand. Okay, that's the reference number. That's the number this company is registered under at the Department of Tourism in Russia. So, and then we need the voucher number, this tourist voucher or confirmation number, 199286. We'll put that here, 199286. Okay, so these details again come directly from your visa invitation letter. That tourist voucher number, the confirmation number is in red. Then we move down to the itinerary. Again, your visa invitation letter should match. So we're going to put Moscow. You can add, any other city that you're going to. Typically, for U.S. citizens, you don't have to have a proof of itinerary or hotel. So Moscow, St. Petersburg is fine. Looking in the blue circle or the blue oval, you can see that it only says Moscow. I mean, it's in Russian, but Moskva. I mean, if you can read some Cyrillic, but you know that you're going to the Four Seasons in Moscow. So here we're just going to put Moscow, and then down here we can put, yes, I'm staying in a hotel, which is the Four Seasons in Moscow. So we'll just go here and put Four Seasons Moscow. Here's the address. You can Google that real quick, paste it here. And again, you can't copy and paste the number, so what I typically do is just paste it above so I can read it. 499-277-7100. Then we can erase this. Okay, so we have our hotel, our city, and our hotel, and our travel host organization exactly as it is in the visa invitation letter. Do you have medical insurance? U.S. citizens do not have to have this, which is for the visa, that is. That's not to say you shouldn't have some sort of traveler's insurance, but you can say no here if you're a U.S. citizen, that's fine. And then put the company name and the number, the policy number that you have. If you already have it, you might as well put it. It's not a big deal. But again, you will get the visa regardless if you say no. So who will pay for your trip? If your company is paying for your trip, you will need to get an AIM tourism visa. which is a single entry visa only for the dates that your company is sending you to Russia for some kind of conference. If you want the 3-year tourist visa, put independently here. You are paying for your trip. It's a general tourism trip. The visa is for general tourism. So we've completed that. Now going throughout the process, you want to click on Save Draft at the bottom every once in a while, so you can. I'm gonna Moscow, Russia. Well, we already know it's in Moscow, and it's in Russia, so we'll just put Moscow. So click Save Draft. It will save it, and then click Next. Now, additional information. This section is just yes or no questions. Have you ever been arrested? No. And then to go faster, you can just click Tab. No, Tab, no, Tab, no. So, I mean, have you ever been refused a Russian visa? Have you ever had one canceled? Most people will say no. Have you ever been deported? Has this application been completed by you? Yes. So we'll say yes there. So go through these questions, answer yes or no. If you've been in the military, if you've been trained for specific skills, and then, you know, if you were a member of a professional, civic, or charitable organization, I would put yes, and then whichever organization that was. If you were in a leadership position, if you give blood every once in a while, that's different. Just click no. So we'll save and then click next. We come to education and work experience. Have you ever gone to college or university? We're going to say yes. I went to Brigham Young University. So this is obviously something that you can, you know the dates, and but you don't know the address, so you can just, I had it here just, so Brigham Young University, Provo, Utah. So you'll just put this in here. I studied linguistics, for example. So you can only submit up to 2 places that you studied. So let's say, I don't know, 2004 to May 2008. So let's say I got my bachelor's at BYU, and then you can add a second university if you got a master's or a PhD, but you can only include up to 2 places. If you didn't go to school at all, or if you're currently in school, you say no here, because this is in the past. So we'll leave it as it is. Most people will have attended, you know, so associates or bachelor's or master's. Have you ever changed your place of employment? This is important. You will want to add, I don't know how many can you add, 2, yeah. So add up to 2, at least 1 of your previous places of employment. I don't know. We'll just, you want to put the full address, Springfield. Let's do that. Okay. So you'll put the name of the company, the address, your position, the phone number. It doesn't matter actually what format you do. The name of your supervisor, or the last name of your supervisor when you worked there. I don't know, I worked at a college, for example, September 2010. So it's important to, if you're older, not college age, then you will be expected to put something here if you worked. So put 1 or 2 here. Save it. Although if you were a stay-at-home mom, if you were raised your children, you can say no here, and then later when it asks you for your current position, you can say, stay-at-home mom, to explain, to show that, that you're not just unemployed. Next section is last visit details. If you had a Russian visa before, you'll select yes, and then where was that issued. So it would have been at one of the 5 consulates in the U.S., or most recently one of the 3 left. So Houston, New York, or D.C. We can say, I got it in Houston, USA. If this says on your previous visa, in the bottom right corner, there's a 3-letter code. It's like HOU or WASH, I think, for Washington, D.C., SEA for Seattle, or there was one in San Francisco as well. I think it's, I don't know if it's SF. But anyway, if you don't remember where exactly in the U.S. you got it issued, you can just put USA, but you should know the country where it was issued. So we're going to say, for example, Houston, USA. It was given to me, it was issued, I don't know, June 2012. Obviously, if you never had a Russian visa, you can say no and just skip that. Has your passport been lost or stolen? I'm going to say no. In your passport, on the last page, you should have a stamp that says it's been lost or stolen, so you'll have to say yes, but they don't ask for additional information. Now, this question trips some people up a lot. Have you ever visited other countries in the past 10 years? So here you want to indicate most of your significant travels that you made in the past. Let's say 2010. I guess that's 10 years already, barely. We'll say 2014, for example. So here you're going, if you travel extensively, put 5 to 15 of the major trips that you've taken in the last 10 years. The visit date, just approximate the best way you can on the date, month, and year. You can look in your passport if you have stamps from those countries. United Kingdom, let's say, I don't know, the 2nd of June 2017. So as long as you get as close as you can, approximate your best for the dates and then the countries. But if you put no here and then you submit your passport for the Russian consulate to put a visa in, and they see stamps all over the place, they're going to ask you to update it and then sign it and send it again. So they will not accept your documents if you have a bunch of stamps and you say no. So that's not acceptable. And then the next question is if you have had a passport, if you have been issued, so anytime, it doesn't matter if it's expired or not. You can click, select the country that issued you a passport in the past, or maybe it's current. So if you don't have one, obviously select no. So we're going to click Save Draft and Next. Then we're going to put in your father's full name and your mother's full name, and then your street address, this is just an example, but you do need the full street, city, state, and zip here. If you miss one of those things, then they will ask you, the consulate will not accept your documents. They'll ask you to redo it. And unfortunately here you don't have an asterisk for phone number or email, but again, you do need to provide a phone number, and you do need to provide an email. Otherwise, they will ask you to redo it and bring it back. Now, if you're there in person, that's kind of annoying because you prepare everything, then you go in person. I mean, that's the reason we offer our services. We do it for you, but some people go all the way to Houston or New York thinking all their documents are correct, and then they're turned away and say, fix it and come back. So then we move on to do you work or study in the present time, which means if you're currently a student, you just put University of wherever, and then here you would put student, and then the address of the university and the telephone of the university. These two things you don't have to put, the fax or email. If you are currently working, then you'll obviously put the name of your employer, your position, the full address, and then the telephone number. If you don't work, if you're retired, you can say no, but in the work experience section, you will need to put some kind of, ideally 2 jobs for your past work experience, unless you've worked at a company for 20 to 30 years and it was only one company. You can leave that as it is. If you're a stay-at-home mom and you don't have work experience listed in the past, then you might want to say yes, stay-at-home mom, because then this shows the consulate that although you didn't have work experience, you've been a stay-at-home mom raising your kids over the last several years. So that is acceptable. Do you currently have relatives in Russia? We'll say, if you do say yes, you will most likely be requested to apply for a private visa and then get a private invitation. Then you'll put the last name, the first name, the relationship. So, I have a brother in Russia. Regardless, for U.S. citizens, regardless of the relationship, you will need to apply for a private visa. So keep that in mind, and it's just as easy to do. We're going to put no here because we're applying for the tourist visa. So save draft, next. Now here's where that first question comes in, the very, very first question, which was the country. If we select United States, we're given a list of places we can apply in the United States. So Russian Visa Center Houston, that's where we will apply for our customers' documents. So we click Save Draft. If you accidentally indicated a different country, like Mexico on accident, or you click UN on the list and it's United Kingdom or something like that, this list won't even show up. It will be consulates in the UK, not America. So that's why the first question is important. So we'll click Save Draft, then Next. Okay, and here we can thoroughly check all the details, all the sections. Make sure your name is spelled correctly with a hyphen or apostrophe or whatever it is, that all of your passport details are correct. Right here, your passport number, it has to be exactly what it is in your passport, of course. Travel company, from your visa invitation letter, this has to be on there as well. So all your documents should match: your passport, your visa application, and your visa invitation letter, except The only exception is that because U.S. citizens are allowed a multiple entry 3-year visa, this exit date, sorry, I guess I should show you the English part, that says the 28th of April. That's the only thing that does not have to match, and that's an exception for U.S. citizens. So every other passport holder gets a tourist visa for maximum 30 days, but U.S. citizens get a tourist visa for 3 years. So we're going to put 30th of March 2020 to 3 years later, 29th of March 2023. So that's the only exception. All the other details should match. Once if we found a mistake, then we click here, edit, and we're brought back to that original screen. We click Save and Submit, and because we're in the US, we will click Print Letter. If you're in Europe, you would use Print A4. So Print Letter, then you have the 3 or 4 page application. When you print it out, make sure that nothing is cut off, it's not shrunk, it looks exactly as it does in the electronic PDF format. Yeah, so you can go through again, make sure the view is slightly different, but here's your visa application ID. Here's where we're applying, all your information here. Here's where you can put your passport photo lightly glued on with a glue stick, so in case something needs to be updated, we can pull that off and put it on a new application. Then date and sign in this box right here. So we have your full address, telephone, email. We can print that out. So if we do need to, real quick, I'll show you. If we do need to update it, let's say I see a mistake in the PDF form, we go back to visa.kdmid.ru, and we will scroll down to the bottom and click on Open Previously Completed Application. Now it asks us for our application ID, which is right here in the corner, 37. That's what it starts with. Click Retrieve. Put in the last 4 letters of your surname, the year of your birth, and the password that we used in the beginning. Again, I put that down here, and Let's Russia 1 is the password that I used. Now, you can click on Preview, but we don't want that. Preview will just give you a view of what you can print out, but we already have that in PDF form. We want to edit, which means we'll get a new ID. So we click on Get a New Draft ID. We'll get a new ID, application ID. We can note that here, and then click Next, and you are brought back to the screen with these blue buttons that represent every section. So you can look at your the section that you need, passport details or whatever it is, and then you can go through. Let's say I made a mistake in the number. It should have been, a 9 instead of an 8, and so you can correct that, save it, and then if that's the only mistake, you can click down here, appointment details, and then next. Go all the way to the bottom. You can make sure everything's right again. Go all the way to the bottom, save and submit, and then once again click Print Letter, and then you can save it as, application corrected, just so you don't get it mixed up with the first application that you saved on your computer. So you can print this out and then sign it and send it with your passport to our Houston office, and we'll submit your documents. So that's how you go through the visa application as a U.S. citizen for a 3-year multiple entry visa. We will have another video about private visas and some other differences in the process for that and other visa types. So hope this was very helpful for you, and see you next time.